Mobile Task Force Unit Mu-13, designated the Ghostbusters, have landed on Helipad C. The site is currently undergoing a heavy amount of paranormal anomalous activity. If at any moment the lights flicker or anything comes off its respective shelf, please report it to the Ghostbusters immediately. Secondary security forces, please report to Armory 4C to receive a Class 4 proton pack provided by the Ghostbusters. We are currently in a Level 2 lockdown. If you need to go through a checkpoint that is locked down, please radio control to request the lockdown be lifted for passing.
Somewhere in a suburban house, a light bulb just shattered on the kitchen floor. What comes out of it isn't glass dust. It's something that used to be aware of itself. You are MTF Mu-13, nicknamed Ghostbusters. Your job is to track, study, and contain things that don't have a body to restrain. Your most infamous case didn't start in a haunted house. It started in a hardware store aisle. This is what it actually took to clean that up. Your official mandate: tracking, analysis, and containment of incorporeal or intangible anomalies, particularly the ones believed to be sentient, sapient, or otherwise intelligent and adaptive. Most anomalies the Foundation contains have a body you can put behind a wall. Yours often don't. You've learned to think about containment differently than almost anyone else in the Foundation. The Foundation's term for what you hunt is ectomorph. Not a ghost, exactly. Something built from a substance called ectoplasm. Ectomorphs are classified by two things: whether they're aware of themselves, and whether they can act on that awareness. Class D has neither. It dissipates almost the moment it's exposed to open air. Class B and C have one trait or the other: awareness without action, or action without awareness. Class A has both. It knows what it is, and it can act on that knowledge. That's the one your unit takes seriously. Your primary containment tool wasn't designed for this job originally. It was designed for exorcisms. The Foundation calls it the Hoffman Portable Electrothomic Unit. You just call it the containment rig. A second piece of equipment, the Kardec counter, tells you when something incorporeal is nearby before you can see it. Neither piece of gear looks impressive. Both have kept your unit alive more times than either gets credit for. In 2006, a consumer electronics company called Titan Consumer Appliances and Electronics released a new light bulb, marketed as the Ghostlight. Cheaper than standard bulbs, safer, they claimed, longer lasting. It looked exactly like an ordinary fluorescent bulb on any store shelf. The difference was on the inside. Instead of a tungsten filament, the bulb used a dense solution of ectoplasm. The ectoplasm inside wasn't inert. It was made of ectomorphs, and the company that built the bulb had no idea what that actually meant. TCAE didn't manufacture the ectoplasm themselves. They bought it from a number of third-party suppliers. Most of those suppliers provided low-grade material, Class B, C, and D ectomorphs, essentially harmless. One supplier was different, a group of interest known as the Factory. The Factory's ectoplasm was higher grade, Class A and B, the kind your unit exists to handle. TCAE never asked why the Factory's material was better. They just liked that it was. Foundation records suggest the company genuinely didn't know what Class A ectoplasm actually was. They were buying captured, aware, capable ghosts and calling it premium raw material. A dropped bulb, a knocked-over lamp. Ordinary household accidents happen constantly. Most of the time, nothing happened. The Class B, C, and D ectomorphs inside simply dissipated on contact with open air. But roughly 40% of the factory-supplied bulbs contained something that didn't just fade away. When a Class A instance broke free, it didn't disappear. It haunted the exact room it was released in, and it interfered with electricity. Every wire, every outlet, every appliance nearby became unpredictable. About 6 months after the Ghostlight launched, a pattern started showing up in ordinary accident reports. Electrocutions in homes, from fixtures that should never have been capable of delivering a fatal shock. Local authorities had no framework for what they were looking at. Nobody connected it to a light bulb. It took the Foundation's own monitoring systems to notice the common thread running through every single case. Once the pattern was confirmed, the Foundation moved quickly. TCAE was approached directly. The company was ordered to drop the factory as a supplier immediately. Every defective bulb already sold had to be recalled, quietly, without alarming the public. Recalling a consumer product is easy on paper. Finding every single bulb already installed in someone's home is not. A standard product recall doesn't need your unit. This one did. Your job wasn't collecting unbroken bulbs. It was finding the ones that had already shattered and containing whatever came out. Every address on your list had one thing in common. A Class A ectomorph, already loose, already interfering with the household's electricity. You didn't get the luxury of treating this like a lab exercise. These were people's homes. The homeowners are evacuated first, told it's an electrical safety inspection. Then you and your team move through the house room by room, car deck counter leading the way. The reading spikes near the kitchen. That's where the bulb broke. You see it before you fully believe it. A faint, aware shape, drawn toward the nearest working outlet. The containment rig hums to life. The entity resists, the way anything with awareness resists being captured. Within minutes, it's sealed. The house's electricity stabilizes almost immediately after. One house, one instance contained, dozens more addresses left on the list. Every instance you recover ends up in the same place. A Class 4 ectoproof containment vault at Site 246. Ectoproof isn't a word you'd hear anywhere outside this job. It means built specifically to hold something that doesn't have a body to physically restrain. Each captured instance is logged, stored, and monitored indefinitely. Somewhere in that vault is every Class A ectomorph your unit has pulled out of an ordinary family's kitchen. There's a detail in TCAE's corporate history that most people miss. The company wasn't always called that. Before it was Titan Consumer Appliances and Electronics, it was Prometheus Consumer Technologies, a subsidiary of Prometheus Labs. When Prometheus Labs collapsed in 1998, this particular subsidiary didn't go down with it. It renamed itself and kept operating independently. If that name sounds familiar, it should. This channel already covered what else came out of Prometheus Labs' collapse. Two very different task forces. One shared corporate ancestor, buried in a bankruptcy filing almost nobody read. It would be easy to think of every ectomorph the same way. Your job depends on not making that mistake. A Class D instance is closer to a chemical byproduct than a person. It has no awareness to speak of. A Class A instance knows it's being hunted. It reacts. It sometimes tries to hide. You've never fully resolved how you're supposed to feel about that. The job calls it containment. It still looks a lot like a chase. Nobody in your unit talks much about what a Class A instance actually was before it ended up inside a light bulb. The factory never fully explained where its highest grade ectoplasm came from. The Foundation's files don't linger on it either. You do the job anyway. Contain the instance, secure the site, move to the next address on the list. Some questions aren't yours to answer, just yours to notice and carry anyway. The nickname sounds almost like a joke. The case behind it never was. A consumer product sold in ordinary stores quietly killed people before anyone understood why. Your unit is the reason that story ended in a recall notice instead of a much longer body count. That's what it actually means to be Ghostbusters. Not chasing something spooky for its own sake. Cleaning up after an ordinary company that had no idea what it was selling. A light bulb, a hidden supplier. And a task force built to clean up what nobody else even knew was dangerous. That's MTF Mu-13. That's what it means to be a Ghostbuster. All information in this video comes from scpwiki.com and its documented SCP entries and task force records. The SCP Foundation is a collaborative fiction project. Every entry referenced here is the work of individual authors shared under Creative Commons. The full entries are free to read at scpwiki.com. Next week on Shroudex Explain, subscribe so you don't miss it.